Because you are right. These are all bar fights. These are all banger matchups. We're gonna go in order. Bengals at your Titans now. Anytime it's January.
Your Bengals. I feel like you're gonna start claiming the Bengals though. We gotta get you a beanie or
yeah. Shout to my guy Chris.
Literally, Bengals. You've been talking about since August.
I have, I have, and I'm upset that I didn't bet them to make the playoffs. Right. I wasn't higher because I didn't. They caught the league by storm, but they had the pieces there. We just a lot of questions, right? We didn't know what the status of his knee was going to be, if it was going to hold up. No one saw the defense playing as good as it did. Offensive line being better than what people assumed it was going to be. And then Jamar Chase is like, a top 5 wide receiver already? So they're going into Tennessee. I'm looking at this game, and I'm saying to myself, we can't look at the Tennessee Titans from November and December, though they won and they stayed afloat. I'm looking at this Tennessee Titans team. They're going to come in the healthiest that they've been. They're going to get Derrick Henry back. To what degree, we don't know, but he's going to be out there. Julio is rested. This is why you got Julio for the playoffs.
This is the matchups.
You got A.J. Brown now healthy too. And I'm looking at the 6-2 team that had some nice wins early on in the year and dominating wins. Yeah. That's how I'm looking at the Titans. And their defense, I think, is probably the most underappreciated unit in the playoffs right now, in my opinion.
They've had some great performances, and I think after last week, I would have said San Fran, but I think everyone's talking about San Fran now because that San Fran defense. Ooh, we're going to talk about them. They were getting after it. But Tennessee, all 3 levels, I'm looking at that, and particularly just the matchup. Because whenever you look at the Bengals game, you just have to wonder, can their O-line hold up? And they were going against a dangerous Raiders front, but now you're going against a Titans front that I think is more complete. They don't just have edge rushers; they have guys inside, in particular Jeffrey Simmons, and that's when you won the big challenges.
All-pro Jeffrey Simmons. Yeah. And you got another guy that's all-pro in Kevin Byard,
right,
who I think I was talking to Will, and he was telling me about, like, when you have a guy like Byard, there's not going to be any blown coverages. There's not going to be...
He's an organizer.
He's going to have everything in place. Everyone's going to know where Jamar is. Oh, T's over here. Slide, whatever. Oh, T and Jamar are here. We're going to slide. So you have that guy in the secondary... And then you got Jeffrey Simmons just running wild. Right. Harold Landry, too. Yeah. I think the defense is going to have a big game here for the Titans.
Yeah, and I've always been talking about Nico Autry is kind of like that disruptive force that's like a super role player. I like the linebackers, and particularly Evans. Like, it's been a long process because past 2 years, the Titans defense, people are just like, this unit is not good. They don't do anything. They don't rush the quarterback. Byard gets a couple of picks, but that's about it. Dory Jackson can't tackle anybody, but now they've kind of reshuffled. And even though their corners are still a little bit suspect, I feel like they've just built a really strong unit. They're very organized. And I think both these defenses are very organized. They don't allow a lot of big plays. So I think it's just a matter of how both these teams, they're really just going to need their alpha males to, like, make plays on their own. Like, of course, you're going to get them the ball in the intermediate parts of the field, but can they break the tackles? Can they just win one-on-one on the outside and create some magic? Because both these teams, you want to talk about alpha male star power, it's across the board, and that's what makes this game so fascinating. And it's a fresh matchup. Like who would have thought this game would have been a divisional round game?
And also, how about this? The only matchup of the 3 of the 4 that wasn't played this year. Bengals and Titans didn't play each other. Everyone else played each other.
Some people forget that Green Bay and San Fran played each other.
Yeah, but early on.
Yeah.
Because it was, it wasn't as, like, everyone remembers Rams and Bucks because that was Stafford's first big test. Yeah. It was in L.A., the whole 9. Now, here's the thing that I find fascinating about this matchup. 17 combined one-score games this season by these 2 teams. So this might be, though one quarterback is better than the other, and we don't think of them as both being all-pro MVP kind of guys, I think you would agree that Burrow would fit that mold of all-pro.
He's on a trajectory.
MVP. Yeah, right? Where, like, what the ceiling is with Ryan Tannehill. Yeah. Though this one really might come down to whoever has the ball last, right? Like, you would say that about the Chiefs. You would say that about Stafford and Brady and Allen and Mahomes. Yeah. But this one, because of these 2 teams really playing close games, I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are betting on the Bengals, because you have that 3.5, that hook. Even if the Titans are up, Joe Burrow's going to keep them in the game. Joe Cool, the whole 9. He also answered a big test for me last week as a rookie, being so poised. Since 2000, rookie quarterbacks in their first career start, 6 and 8. He was the 6th. to win.
Wait, so we used to claim like first time in the, like how you describe as a rookie? Like obviously it's the second year in the league, but it's like a first time in the playoffs.
First career playoff starter.
yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah. Yes, you're right. Yeah, first career playoff starter. I said rookie, but rookie in the playoffs.
Because a lot of them lose their first game.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then you saw Mac Jones in his first start over there.
Right.
And then like Derek Carr is on that list too, even though he's
Hurts,
been right. But these two teams, I really think the matchup with the wide receivers is going to be massive because both these teams have wide receivers that could completely like just be game wreckers.
Right. Yeah. Although you look at both head coaches, they're going to want to run the ball. Obviously, we know about Tennessee, but Zach Taylor wants to try to run the ball at Mixon. They didn't have much success against the Raiders, and I think it's going to be very hard to run on the Titans. But I think it's well known Zach Taylor still wants to maintain some balance. I think Cincinnati had like the 8th most carries in the league this year, so you know Mixon's going to get the ball, but it's just you look at those playmakers, it's like you got that's where you got to hit Tennessee. Like Norris Jenkins, if he's isolated against T. Higgins, you got to try to find T. Higgins, who had a very quiet game against the Raiders, and 4 targets is not going to be enough in this type of game. So whether it's him, Boyd, obviously Chase, like you want to see them get involved as much as they want to like have ball control style with Mixon, because I assume they see Derrick Henry, it's like they gotta kind of win the time possession battle, but then you have the explosive playmakers, so it's like they're gonna have to balance it out. But let's not forget, as exciting as both teams are on the outside, they're both gonna want to run the ball.
Important to note that both Hendrickson and Hubbard practice in full on Wednesday, which is a really good thing to see.
Yeah, Hubbard's been big for them.
Yeah, I mean both those guys. Like Hendrickson, I think at one point this year had a sack in 9 or 10 straight games.
10, yeah,
that's
wild,
he's
just always around. He's constantly generating pressure, and you get a Taylor Lewan, so that's gonna be a good matchup.
Where are you leaning for this game?
This one is definitely, I think, besides Bills Chiefs, this was the hardest one to call.
Really?
Yeah, I think the NFC games. I'm not saying the NFC games are predictable, but I think the NFC games, they kind of know where I'm going. And AFC, these were tight.
Oh, okay. This makes it more interesting for me when we get to the rest of these games, because I think the Titans, I don't want to say blowout because I think Joe Burrow is going to keep it close, but I do see a scenario where the Titans are winning throughout the whole game, and maybe there's like an onside kick for the Bengals to go to recover, to go and tie the game kind of
We're
thing.
going special teams.
Like, yeah, shout out to the special teams, yo. Most underrated part of the playoffs, a lot of special teams,
I will say the Bengals have a more reliable kicker in 10. I do not like Bullock. That's one of the big liabilities. Both these number 1 seeds, special teams.
But all seriousness, I think that there's going to be a game where, especially if Derrick Henry comes back, I think the Titans could be winning, 10 to 14 points throughout the game. And then maybe Burrow throws a touchdown to T. Higgins with, a minute 30 left, and they go to set up for an onside kick. I think the Titans are going to be able to control this game.
Because the one issue I have with Tennessee is, besides secondary, is just Tannehill's been a little more turnover prone than I thought he would be. Like, there's in every big game this year, I feel like he's made a couple errant throws, kind of like Garoppolo. And it's just like, you got to play smarter. And like I thought he was, because Ryan Tannehill in 2019, 2020, he was one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league.
Dude, yeah. And his numbers, like if you were to take from when he took over the job from Mariota, and he hit the 16-game starter mark, like those numbers were up there with like Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers from efficiency and yardage standpoint.
He was just steady.
Yeah.
And this year it's been a little dicey. But if I'm on the particular team, it's just the Derrick Henry factor, and it's just I trust Tennessee in the trenches. At some point, I get concerned about the O-line. I just don't think bad O-lines travel well against good defensive fronts. In Tennessee, they could get nasty. So as excited I am about Cincinnati and those playmakers, I'm going to lean Derrick Henry running game. I could see him getting 25 carries straight out the jump, and Burrow gets sacked 5 times, and Tennessee pulls out a nail biter.